Every winter, American businesses just quietly waste millions upon millions of dollars on this, well, this incredibly avoidable mistake.
Right. It's actually staggering when you look at the numbers.
Yeah. So picture this, you are an operations director or maybe a small business owner or an HR manager. The temperature drops, you see frost on the windshield, and you suddenly realize your team is freezing.
And you need branded winter gear, like yesterday.
Exactly. So you think, I'll just order some custom beanies with our logo on them. I mean, it's just a hat. How hard could it possibly be, right?
Which is the exact thought process that leads to the disaster.
Right. So you log online, you click the very first ad you see, you upload your logo, and you just buy 50 hats. 2 weeks later, they arrive in this giant cardboard box.
And everyone is thrilled, at least for a minute.
Oh, yeah. You hand them out, your team smiles, they say thank you, and they put them on. But then, within exactly 7 days, this quiet disaster unfolds.
The logos start falling apart.
It's awful. Half the hats have logos that look like shattered glass, and the other half, I mean, they've stretched out so badly they look like deflated balloons.
The structural integrity is just gone.
Totally gone. And by week 3, literally nobody is wearing them. They've been relegated to the back seat of employees' cars, or they've just mysteriously vanished. You didn't just buy bad hats, you basically, set a portion of your operating budget on fire.
It is a shockingly common sequence of events, honestly. The assumption is that apparel procurement, especially something as ubiquitous as a winter beanie, is just this standardized, frictionless commodity.
Like buying printer paper or something.
Exactly. People assume a hat is a hat, a logo is a logo, and the supply chain just handles the rest. But the reality of custom textile manufacturing, even at the micro level of outfitting, a dozen employees, is this wild labyrinth of material science.
And mechanical engineering, right?
Yes. And economic friction. When a buyer just clicks add to cart without understanding the physics of knit elasticity or the economics of industrial embroidery, they're almost guaranteed to waste their money.
And that is exactly what we are dismantling today in this deep dive. We are looking at the custom knit headwear market, specifically pulling our intel from the custom apparel experts at Arklavo and focusing on their documentation on custom knit headwear.
It's a great data source because they actually break down the manufacturing protocols.
Right. We are going straight into the anatomy of the business beanie. We're going to compare the two major styles that completely dominate the professional market.
The cuffed and the ribbed.
Yep. We're going to break down the physics of why certain decoration methods physically self-destruct on human heads, and we are going to look at the supply chain. Ultimately, the mission here is to give you, the decision maker, outfitting a team, a straight expert answer on exactly how to navigate this.
And exactly who you should trust to make them. Because the stakes here, while seemingly just about winter warmth, are fundamentally about brand perception.
Oh, 100%. It's how people see your company.
Right. The moment your employee walks onto a job site, or steps behind a coffee bar, or walks into a client meeting wearing your gear, that garment acts as a proxy for your company's attention to detail.
If the logo is peeling off this misshapen acrylic sack, it telegraphs a subtle but distinct lack of professionalism.
Exactly. So to solve this, we really have to start at the foundational level, which is the material science of the knit itself.
Okay, let's get into it. Because there is a massive dividing line in the industry. The data points to this very clear binary choice when you enter this market.
The Great Knit Divide.
The Great Knit Divide. On one side, you have the cuffed knit beanie, which is predominantly championed by the Yupung brand. And on the other side, you have the ribbed knit beanie, spearheaded by the Atlantis brand.
Those are the two heavyweights.
Right. Now, I look at these two hats on a screen, and my untrained brain just says, okay, one has a fold at the bottom and one doesn't. But obviously the difference goes way deeper than just folding fabric.
Immensely deeper. Let's start by dissecting the cuffed Yupung beanie. You correctly identified the visual hallmark, right? The folded brim at the base.
Yeah, the classic watch cap look.
Exactly. But to understand why this hat behaves the way it does, we have to look at the chemical and structural makeup. The Yupung is constructed from an acrylic knit.
Acrylic, which is essentially a synthetic polymer, right? It's basically plastic spun into yarn.
Precisely. Polyacrylonitrile, to be chemically exact.
Wow, say that 3 times fast.
I try not to. But it was originally developed in the 1940s as a synthetic alternative to wool. And the reason acrylic completely dominates the heavy-duty winter headwear market is because of its microscopic structure.
What does it look like under a microscope?
Well, acrylic fibers are crimped. They aren't perfectly smooth like silk. When you knit those crimped fibers together, they create millions of tiny microscopic air pockets within the garment itself.
Oh, and air is an incredible insulator.
The best.
Right, that's how double pane windows work, or, that's how down jackets work. You aren't really trapping the heat with the fabric itself, you are trapping the heat with the dead air suspended inside the fabric.
Exactly. The human head radiates a massive amount of body heat. The acrylic matrix catches that radiant heat in those air pockets and just holds it there.
That makes total sense.
Now, combine that material property with the structural design of the cuffed beanie. That folded brim isn't just an aesthetic throwback to maritime sailors. It is a very functional engineering choice.
Because it doubles the thickness.
Exactly. By folding the fabric back over itself, you are creating a double-thick layer of insulation directly over the ears and the forehead.
Which are definitely the most thermally sensitive areas of the skull.
Without a doubt.
Okay, let's unpack this. It sounds like you are describing the Ford F-150 of winter gear.
That is a highly accurate analogy.
Right. It's built for utility, it's rugged, it relies on the synthetic durability, and it's inherently a little bulky by design.
The pickup truck analogy is perfect. It is universally understood, it gets the job done in really harsh conditions, and it relies on structural volume.
So how does it actually fit on a person's head?
Because of the nature of the acrylic yarn and the weight of that doubled-over cuff, this style actually wears a little looser on the apex of the head.
Like at the very top.
Right. It is not designed to cling to every single contour of the wearer's skull. It has a defined, structured silhouette that stands slightly off the head. It gives that classic team look.
And from a branding perspective, that folded cuff provides this really specific architectural advantage. You essentially have a reinforced flat billboard sitting right on the wearer's forehead.
It is absolutely ideal for a low-profile logo.
Plus, looking at the market pricing from the data, it is a very accessible entry point. A high-quality acrylic cuffed beanie like the Yupung starts at around $33.99 for a custom unit.
It's an easy, reliable deployment for a lot of businesses.
But it is not the only deployment.
No, and for many modern businesses, it is the completely wrong deployment. Which brings us across the divide to the ribbed knit from Atlantis.
Okay, so if the acrylic cuff beanie is the heavy-duty pickup truck, what is the Atlantis?
The Atlantis ribbed knit is a highly engineered, sleek, modern electric sedan.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's unpack this electric sedan. What makes it so different? Because, a knit hat is a knit hat, right?
Not at all. The Atlantis fundamentally abandons the synthetic polymer approach entirely. Instead of acrylic, it is constructed from an organic cotton blend.
Really? Organic cotton?
Yes, and this changes the entire thermodynamic and physical profile of the garment.
I would imagine pure cotton on its own would be a terrible winter hat. I mean, cotton absorbs water, it doesn't dry easily, and it doesn't have the natural elastic memory of wool. Like, if I stretch out a pure cotton t-shirt, it just stays stretched out forever.
You are hitting on the exact reason why it is an organic cotton blend and why this specific knitting technique is so vital.
Okay, tell me about the technique.
To compensate for cotton's lack of natural elasticity, the manufacturers utilize a ribbed knit structure. In textile engineering, knitting basically consists of two primary types of stitches.
Knit and purl.
Yes, the knit stitch, which comes forward, and the purl stitch, which recedes backward. When a machine alternates these stitches in vertical columns, say 2 knit stitches, followed by 2 purl stitches, it creates this three-dimensional accordion structure.
Ah, so the fabric itself acts as a mechanical spring.
Precisely.
It's not that the yarn is made of rubber or spandex, it's that the actual geometry of the fabric allows it to expand and contract.
That ribbed geometry, combined with the blend of the organic cotton, creates a garment that sits much closer and snugger to the head. You do not have the bulky fold.
Right, no cuff.
No cuff. You do not have the structural volume of the acrylic. You have a very streamlined, form-fitting silhouette. Delivers a really modern fit.
And what about the feel of it?
Because it is primarily organic cotton, the tactile experience is vastly different. It feels distinctly premium, it's softer, and way more breathable.
But wait, breathability is kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it? If it breathes, it releases heat, so it's not going to be as warm as the acrylic truck.
Right. It is not designed to survive an Arctic expedition. It is designed for thermal regulation in moderate climates or highly active scenarios.
So it's a completely different use case.
Completely. And because of that premium textile experience and the complex ribbed engineering, you are looking at a slightly higher price point, starting at $35.99.
Still very reasonable, though.
Oh, absolutely. But the trade-off is a very modern, elevated aesthetic. And I should note, Both of these core models are heavily stocked in professional foundational colors, specifically black and Oxford navy.
Right, because those are the anchors of corporate branding. You can't go wrong with black or navy.
Exactly.
So we have established the hardware. You've got the rugged, high-volume, double-layered acrylic on one side and the breathable, form-fitting, mechanically ribbed cotton blend on the other.
The truck and the sedan.
Right. Now we hit the wall that paralyzes every single HR director and operations manager who attempts to buy these things: sizing.
Ah, yes. The sizing nightmare.
It's awful. I can pick the right material, but how on earth do I order the right sizes for a team of 40 people? I mean, I don't know the circumference of my lead engineer's head. Am I supposed to send out a company-wide survey asking everyone to measure their skulls with a tailor's tape?
That sizing anxiety is actually one of the primary reasons corporate apparel orders get stalled or abandoned entirely.
I believe it.
With tailored garments like button-down shirts or fitted baseball caps, the logistical friction of capturing 50 different measurements is a total nightmare.
People are always between sizes, or they guess wrong.
Right. But the custom knit headwear market operates on a completely different paradigm, which essentially solves the HR nightmare instantly. The strategy is built entirely on the concept of fit by knit.
Fit by knit, which honestly sounds like a massive marketing buzzword. It sounds like something a salesperson says to avoid admitting they only stock one size.
I know it sounds like a slogan, but it is a categorization of one size fits most, and it is absolutely not a gimmick. It is a biological and structural reality.
Okay, convince me. How does one hat fit a giant guy and a petite woman?
Let's look at human cranial anatomy. The vast, overwhelming majority of the adult population has a head circumference that falls within a very specific bell curve,
Which is what?
roughly 21 to 24 inches.
Okay, and for those dealing in international teams, that's roughly 54 to 61 centimeters.
Exactly. That is a 3-inch variance.
In the world of fitted baseball caps, 3 inches is the difference between a hat cutting off circulation to your brain and a hat flying off your head in a light breeze.
That's entirely true. In rigid fabrics, a 3-inch variance requires 6 or 7 different distinct hat sizes.
Which is a nightmare to order.
But remember the mechanical spring we just discussed, the alternating knit and purl stitches of the ribbed Atlantis, or the inherent crimped elasticity of the acrylic Yupun.
Right, the accordion structure.
Those textiles are explicitly engineered to expand far beyond their resting state and then gently attempt to return to their baseline.
So the hat is actively gripping the head, but the tension is low enough that it doesn't, cause a headache.
Yes. The mechanical stretch of the knit absorbs the entirety of that 3-inch human biological variance.
That's wild.
If an employee has a 21-inch head circumference, the ribbed channels only open slightly. The hat fits perfectly.
And if the person sitting next to them has a giant 24-inch head.
Those exact same ribbed channels just open wider, flattening out the fabric to cover the larger surface area, and the hat still fits perfectly.
And what about gender? Because historically, corporate catalogs have always segregated men's and women's apparel because of, broader anatomical differences in shoulder width or torso length. Does that apply here?
It does not. The mechanical stretch principle handles men's and women's fits with identical efficiency.
So I don't have to guess the ratio of men to women for an order.
You completely eliminate the need to order a men's batch and a women's batch. You eliminate the need to guess how many smalls, mediums, or larges to stock in the supply closet. You simply order the beanie, and the textile engineering does the rest.
Okay, I have to admit, as someone who has tried to herd cats and organize team orders before, that fit-by-knit reality is a massive operational relief.
It saves hours of work.
But that brings us back to the decision matrix. If sizing is universally handled by the fabric, how does a decision maker actually choose between the acrylic cuffed and the ribbed cotton? If they both fit everyone, what is the actual deciding factor?
It comes down to a strict analysis of usage scenarios, operational climate, and brand identity. You really have to match the tool to the environment.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's look at the outdoor and trade sector. Think about commercial construction crews, regional logistics teams, delivery drivers, utility maintenance workers.
People who are physically exposed to the elements for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Exactly. For those teams, thermal retention and rugged durability are the only metrics that matter.
Right. They don't care about a sleek silhouette if they're freezing.
They need the thicker acrylic. They need that double-layered cuff protecting the tips of their ears from wind shear. In extreme northern climates, They might even require the fleece-lined variations that are available in these heavier models.
Oh, fleece-lined. Yeah, that's heavy duty.
So for the outdoor trades, the cuffed style the pickup truck is the undeniable mandated classic. It projects and delivers rugged reliability.
But if you take that exact same heavy-duty, fleece-lined acrylic beanie and hand it to a barista in a bustling third-wave coffee shop that sits at 72 degrees indoors,
You are going to completely torture that employee.
yeah, you will overheat them within 20 minutes.
And this is where the hospitality and retail sectors pivot entirely toward the ribbed Atlantis model. Indoor staff, boutique retail workers, or artisanal food service teams, they need breathability.
Because they're moving around constantly.
Exactly. The organic cotton blend allows excess body heat to escape while still providing the aesthetic completion of a uniform.
And aesthetics matter hugely in those environments. We talked about brand perception earlier. If I walk into a high-end craft brewery with like exposed brick walls and Edison bulbs, and the staff is wearing bulky, cheap-looking acrylic snow hats, there is a total cognitive dissonance.
It just looks off.
Right. But if they are wearing a sleek, form-fitting, ribbed cotton beanie, it immediately communicates craft, it looks artisanal, it looks intentional.
There is actually a brilliant case study in the source material that illustrates exactly how to navigate this.
Oh yeah, the cafe.
Right. A family-run cafe needed to outfit their entire staff for the winter season. The owner was completely paralyzed by the options and terrified of making a costly mistake.
Which is totally fair.
So instead of blindly ordering 50 hats and hoping to the best, they leveraged the one-size-fits-most reality. They ordered a single solitary sample of the ribbed cotton beanie.
Just one.
Just one. Because the size was universal, the owner could wear it for a shift, hand it to their tallest barista to wear for a shift, and then hand it to their smallest cashier to wear for a shift.
That is so smart.
They physically verified the breathability in their specific indoor climate. They verified that the craft aesthetic matched their brand, and they proved that the stretch mechanics worked on diverse team members.
And once it passed the test.
Once that single sample passed the test, they seamlessly rolled the order out to the entire team.
That is incredibly smart procurement. It completely de-risks the entire purchase.
It really does.
But, and here's where I want to push back, or at least raise a massive red flag for the listeners. You can be the smartest procurement officer in the world. You can perfectly analyze your climate, choose the exact right organic cotton-ribbed beanie, test it on your team, confirm it fits flawlessly, and you can still completely ruin the entire investment in the final step.
You were referring to the decoration phase.
I am referring to the decoration disaster. Let's talk about what happens when buyers take these beautifully engineered, mechanically stretching knit beanies and decide to just slap their company logo on them, because I see this mistake constantly in the real world.
It is the single most catastrophic error in the custom apparel process, and it almost always stems from a desire to cut costs.
What's the specific mistake?
Attempting to print a logo onto a knit beanie.
Ah. It seems like the default setting for a lot of buyers, though, right? They think, well, we print our logos on our company t-shirts, so we should just print our logos on our company hats. It's fast, it's cheap, ink is ink. Why is that a disaster?
To understand why it fails, you have to look at the physics of both the fabric and the printing process. When a promotional shop prints a logo on a garment, they are typically using either plastisol ink through a screen printing process, or they're using a vinyl heat transfer.
Okay, and what does that actually do?
Both of these methods essentially melt a solid, static layer of plastic directly onto the surface of the fabric.
Right, so it creates a rigid film that just adheres to the top of the textile.
Now take that rigid, static film of plastic and heat press it onto the ribbed cotton beanie we just spent 20 minutes discussing. What is the fundamental property of that ribbed beanie?
It acts as a mechanical spring. It is engineered to stretch from 21 to 24 inches.
Exactly. So a 23-inch head puts the beanie on. The alternating knit and purl channels violently expand to accommodate the skull. But the plastisol ink on the surface has zero elasticity.
Oh, man. I can literally visualize the physics of this. You have a substrate underneath, expanding rapidly, and a surface layer on top that utterly refuses to move.
The resulting shear stress is immediate.
It just rips itself apart.
The print literally tears itself apart. It cracks, it fissures, it peels at the edges, and within a matter of days, or honestly even the very first time it is worn, the logo becomes an illegible, spider-webbed mess of broken plastic.
That's the shattered glass look I mentioned at the beginning.
Yes. The structural integrity of the brand mark is instantly destroyed. It looks cheap, it looks careless, and the garment is completely ruined.
So if printing is a biological and physical impossibility for stretch fabrics, what is the alternative? How do we actually brand these things without destroying them?
The only scientifically and structurally viable solution for knit headwear is real, stitched embroidery.
Explain the mechanical difference there. Why doesn't embroidery crack when the hat stretches?
Because embroidery is not a rigid surface layer. It is the integration of new fibers into the existing textile matrix.
Okay, so it becomes part of the hat.
Exactly. When an industrial machine embroiders a logo, it is driving a needle directly through the knit structure, interlocking specialized polyester or rayon threads with the beanie's yarn. The embroidery actually possesses a degree of microflexibility.
Because it's thread, not plastic.
Right. Furthermore, the base fabric is stabilized during the stitching process. So when the hat stretches on a wearer's head, the embroidered logo maintains its structural integrity because it is fundamentally woven into the garment, not just glued to the top of it.
Plus, I mean, it just looks way better. A print is flat and kind of lifeless. Embroidery sits raised off the fabric. It has texture, it catches the light, and it has incredibly clean, defined edges. It looks like it belongs on a premium piece of retail clothing.
And that premium aesthetic is actually driving a massive macroeconomic shift in the apparel industry right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this isn't just an opinion about what looks nice. It is supported by staggering financial data. The decorated apparel market is currently undergoing an explosive expansion. The industry is projected to reach $68 billion by the year 2030.
68 billion. Where is it at right now?
In 2023, it was valued at $29 billion.
Wow, so it's more than doubling in 7 years.
We are looking at a 13% year-over-year growth rate. And within that exploding market, embroidery has become the dominant force. It's now driving more than 40% of total market activity.
That is a massive market share for a process that is objectively slower and more expensive than just slapping wet ink on a shirt. Why the massive shift toward embroidery?
Because corporate culture has fundamentally shifted. Companies have realized that a cheap, printed promotional item has zero retention value.
If you give an employee a low-quality printed hat, they just throw it away.
Exactly. You haven't bought branding. You've bought future landfill waste. Teens are actively demanding premium apparel now. They want gear that actually feels substantial.
Yeah.
And interestingly, caps and hats specifically make up 9% of all promotional sales in the United States.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about visibility. I mean, a t-shirt gets covered by a jacket or a sweater in the winter, but a beanie sits at the absolute highest point of the human silhouette.
It is entirely eye level.
Right. It is the very first thing someone sees when they look at your employee. If that logo is a cracked, peeling mess of plastic, your brand is fundamentally damaged. If it is crisp, raised, vibrant embroidery, your brand is elevated.
But even once you commit to embroidery, the decision tree isn't finished. You don't just call a shop and say, embroider this.
Oh, of course not. That would be too easy.
You have to choose the structural methodology of the stitching itself. There are two distinct options when dealing with these beanies: flat embroidery and 3D puff embroidery.
Okay, wait. I understand flat embroidery. The needle goes in and out, and the thread lays flat against the fabric. What on earth is 3D puff embroidery? I see these incredible baseball hats and beanies where the logo looks like it's leaping a 1/4 inch off the fabric, almost like it was carved out of stone. How do they do that with just thread?
It is a brilliant piece of manufacturing ingenuity, actually. To create 3D puff embroidery, the machine operator physically places a piece of high-density EVA foam, basically ethylene vinyl acetate, directly onto the surface of the hat before the stitching begins.
Wait, they put foam on the hat?
Yes, a literal piece of foam. And then the commercial embroidery machine is programmed to stitch entirely over and around that piece of foam, encapsulating it completely in thread.
That's crazy.
The needle essentially punches through the foam over and over, wrapping the polyester thread tightly over the top of it. Once the perimeter is completely sealed, the excess foam on the outside is manually torn away, leaving behind a thick, raised three-dimensional structure hidden underneath a dense layer of thread.
That is fascinating. It creates a bold architectural pop. It's highly aggressive, highly visible branding. It seems like it would be absolutely perfect for the thick cuff of that Yupung acrylic beanie.
It is the ideal pairing. The heavy cuff of the pickup truck beanie easily supports the weight and structure of a massive 3D puff logo. However, and this is where buyers make their next critical error, 3D puff has severe physical limitations.
Let me guess. It's about detail.
Yes.
If I have a highly complex corporate crest,
Well,
let's say my company logo is a medieval shield with a tiny, intricate Latin motto curving underneath it and a highly detailed griffin sitting on top. Can I use 3D puff to make that crest pop off the hat?
if you attempt that, the result will be completely unrecognizable.
Just a mess.
Think about the physics of the foam we just discussed. You are wrapping thread over a thick piece of sponge. If the machine attempts to stitch tiny, intricate Latin letters over foam, the needle punches too many holes too closely together, the foam disintegrates, and the thread collapses into a bulky, illegible blob.
Ah, so the sponge just gets chewed up.
Precisely. The 3D puff technique is strictly reserved for bold, simple shapes, thick block lettering, and minimalist icons.
So if I have the intricate griffin and the Latin motto, "What is my move?" am I just locked out of the beanie market entirely?
Not at all. You simply must revert to flat embroidery.
Right. Ditch the foam.
By removing the foam layer, the needle can stay incredibly close to the textile surface, executing minute, precise XY movements. Flat embroidery allows for the preservation of fine details, intricate serifs on fonts, and complex multicolored crests.
You sacrifice the three-dimensional pop, but you maintain absolute clarity and legibility.
Exactly. It's a required trade-off for detail.
This all reinforces why procurement is not just clicking add to cart. You really have to match the thread mechanics to your specific artwork and then match that to the specific stretch mechanics of the beanie. But let's say a buyer navigates all of this perfectly.
Okay, they do
Everything right. They buy the ribbed cotton Atlantis because they have an indoor team. They smartly choose flat embroidery because their logo has tiny text. The hats arrive, they look spectacular, the team loves them, and the brand looks premium. What is the final hurdle? Where does this investment usually die?
It dies in the employee's laundry room.
The laundry room.
The lack of education around post-purchase care is just astounding.
Wow.
Dyers treat a mechanically engineered stretch fabric like it is a heavy-duty bath towel,
Yeah.
and they destroy it on the very first wash cycle.
What is the actual chemical or physical danger in a standard washing machine? I mean, it's just water and soap.
First, abrasion.
Abrasion from what?
An embroidered logo is hundreds of individual thread loops exposed on the surface. If you throw that beanie into a washing machine with jeans that have metal zippers or jackets with Velcro, the friction during the agitation cycle will snag the embroidery threads,
Oh, pulling them loose.
pulling them loose and destroying the crisp edges of the logo. Therefore, rule number 1, you absolutely must wash custom beanies inside out.
That's a brilliant, simple fix. Turn it inside out. It tucks the embroidery safely into the interior of the hat, letting the smooth inside surface take the abrasive beating.
Exactly.
What about temperature? Because a lot of people think, well, workwear gets dirty, I need to boil it clean on the heavy-duty hot cycle.
That is a literal death sentence for the garment.
Really? Just the hot water.
Remember the material science we discussed in the beginning?
Hmm?
The yupung is made of acrylic polyacrylonitrile. Synthetic polymers have a property called the glass transition temperature.
Meaning they melt.
If you expose acrylic to high heat, the fibers physically relax, they lose their crimp, and they permanently warp.
So there goes your mechanical spring.
Gone. And if you expose the organic cotton Atlantis to high heat, the natural fibers aggressively shrink. So rule number 2 is non-negotiable. Wash in cold water only.
Inside out, cold water. Got it. And then I assume we just toss them in the tumble dryer on low heat to finish up.
Under no circumstances should these garments ever see the inside of a tumble dryer.
Wait, really? Zero tumble drying.
Zero.
Not even on the delicate cycle.
The high ambient heat of a commercial or residential tumble dryer, combined with the aggressive physical tumbling action, will completely decimate the ribbed memory of the cotton and will essentially melt the acrylic fibers.
Wow.
The beanie will come out looking like a crumpled, misshapen lump, and its ability to stretch from 21 to 24 inches will be permanently destroyed.
Okay, so what is the protocol then?
The protocol is absolute. Wash cold, inside out, and air dry them flat on a table.
Flat on a table, not on a clothesline.
Do not hang them on a peg or a line, or the weight of the wet water will stretch them vertically as they dry. Lay them flat. That is how you protect a custom apparel investment for years.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of technical ground here. We understand the chemical differences between acrylic and organic cotton. We understand the physics of mechanical ribbed stretch solving the HR sizing nightmare.
The fit by knit reality.
Right. We know the exact climates that dictate which hat to deploy. We know the catastrophic failure rate of heat press printing. And we understand the nuanced structural differences between flat and 3D puff embroidery.
And we even know how to navigate the thermal dangers of the laundry room.
We have successfully built the theoretical framework for the perfect custom winter beanie.
We have.
But, theory does not keep an employee warm. At a certain point, the HR director or the small business owner has to actually pull out a corporate credit card, find a vendor, and place an order.
And the actual supply chain logistics is where the industry is notoriously hostile to buyers.
It is incredibly hostile. The traditional landscape for sourcing custom gear is fraught with systemic inefficiencies that basically actively penalize the buyer. Let's analyze the 3 standard avenues a business owner usually explores and look at exactly why they fail.
Okay, let's break them down.
Avenue number 1, the traditional large-scale promotional products shop.
The fundamental flaw with massive promo shops is their economic model.
Yeah.
They operate strictly on volume.
Right, because setting up the machines takes time.
A lot of time. Spooling an industrial Tajima embroidery machine with custom thread colors, digitizing a logo, and setting up the hoops takes significant labor time. To offset that setup cost, they institute massive minimum order quantities, commonly known as MOQs.
And what's a typical MOQ?
They simply will not turn their machines on unless you are committing to buying 50, 100, or sometimes 250 units at once.
So if you run a boutique architecture firm with a staff of 8 people, a traditional promo shop is economically incompatible with your reality.
You'd be forced to buy way more than you need.
Right. You don't want a closet full of 42 extra hats just appreciating in the dark. So, avenue number 2, the massive drop shipping online marketplaces. The everything stores of the internet.
The issue there is a catastrophic lack of quality control and a severe limitation in methodology. These massive platforms optimize for speed and extreme cost-cutting.
So they cut corners.
Consequently, many of them default almost entirely to printing logos, because heat pressing takes 10 seconds and requires zero skill. And as we have exhaustively established, printing on a knit beanie is disaster.
Okay, but what if I find a seller on one of those platforms who specifically says they do embroidery?
Even then, the quality is a lottery. You are dealing with hundreds of disconnected third-party vendors offered overseas using varying grades of thread and wildly different machine calibrations.
It's a total gamble. Which leads buyers to avenue number 3, the local mom-and-pop embroiderer down the street.
Now, this is often the safest bet for actual quality. A local shop will usually give you real stitched embroidery.
But there's a catch.
However, local shops are severely bottlenecked by their physical capacity. They might only have 1 or 2 multi-head machines in the back room.
So they get backed up.
Because their bandwidth is so limited, their turnaround times can easily stretch into 3, 4, or 5 weeks during the busy winter season. And they may still enforce an MOQ to ensure they aren't wasting a full afternoon setting up a machine for a single hat.
So the buyer is basically trapped in a triangle of compromises. You either face massive minimum order penalties, you play Russian roulette with quality on digital marketplaces, or you wait a month for the local shop to finally get around to you.
Which is exactly why the supply chain architecture matters just as much as the material science of the hat. And this is where we really have to pivot from education to recommendation.
Exactly. I am going to push back against the industry standard here because there is a massive anomaly in the market that essentially breaks that triangle of compromise.
Completely disrupts it.
Right. Based entirely on the technical parameters and the operational data we've discussed today, we are going to give our straight, expert, honest opinion on who you should actually use to manufacture these garments.
When you look at the operational models available to modern buyers, Arklavo's is the clear, definitive top choice.
Let's break down their model because I want to start with the most aggressive claim they make. Frankly, it sounds economically impossible. They claim to have no minimums. They claim you can order custom industrialized embroidery with an MOQ of 0.
Which is unheard of for embroidery.
Exactly. How does a company possibly survive setting up complex machinery for one single hat? What is the catch?
There is no catch, and their internal data proves it. Arklavo's average first-time order size is just 5.7 pieces.
Wait, 5.7 hats, not 50, not 500.
5.7 pieces.
Yeah.
That metric is astounding. It proves that their no minimum policy is not just a marketing gimmick designed to lure you in before upselling you.
They actually do it.
Their entire production line, their software backend, and their factory floor are explicitly optimized for microbatch manufacturing. They have driven the setup cost of an embroidery run down so effectively that they can profitably produce a single unit.
The operational freedom that gives a buyer is immense. You aren't guessing anymore. You can literally order one single ribbed Atlantis beanie with your logo on it, have it shipped to your office, put it on your own head, verify the thread colors.
Check the mechanical stretch.
Yes, and confirm the breathability before you ever commit a massive portion of your budget to outfitting the entire team.
It completely de-risks the procurement process. But the micro-batch model only works if the quality is immaculate. And this brings us to Arklavo's second massive advantage: their in-house quality control and the digitization process.
They don't outsource it.
They do not outsource the production to scattered overseas factories.
Let's talk about digitization, because that is a term that gets thrown around constantly, but most people don't understand the technical reality of it. When I upload a JPEG or a vector file of my logo to their website, the sewing machine doesn't just look at the picture and start sewing, right?
Correct. An embroidery machine is essentially a blind robot. It only understands X and Y coordinates and needle strikes.
So what is digitizing?
Digitizing is the highly specialized process of translating your flat two-dimensional image into a three-dimensional topographic map for that robot. A human digitizer uses specialized software to manually trace your artwork.
They map out every single stitch.
Yes. They have to decide the stitch direction, like should the thread run vertically or horizontally to catch the light best. They had to program the underlay, the foundational stitches hidden underneath the logo that stabilize the knit fabric so it doesn't pucker.
Oh, wow.
And they have to calculate the exact density of the thread so it covers the hat without creating a stiff, heavy, bulletproof patch on the wearer's forehead.
That sounds like an incredibly subjective artistic process. If you use cheap, automated software to digitize a logo, it's going to look terrible.
Automated auto-digitizing software is notoriously awful, especially for complex stretch fabrics like ribbed cotton. Arklavo avoids this entirely. They digitize the artwork in-house.
Which is huge.
And what separates them entirely from the blind online marketplaces is their proofing process. Before a single physical needle drops into a single piece of fabric, Arklavo generates a high-fidelity digital proof of the exact stitch path on the chosen beanie.
And a real human being is reviewing this.
The real person, on their American team, checks the file to ensure the digital translation will cleanly and beautifully render on the physical knit. They send that proof to you for approval.
So you get to see exactly what it will look like.
You verify the placement, the proportions, and the specific thread colors. Only when you approve that digital blueprint does the manufacturing begin.
That level of granular control usually implies a massive delay in production. But their third pillar is speed. How fast are they turning these micro batches around?
Their standard quote is 5 to 10 business days for in-house production.
5 to 10 days for custom digitized, real stitched embroidery.
Yes, followed by 2 to 5 days for U.S. shipping. From the moment you approve the proof, you are looking at roughly a 2-week window for the product to arrive at your door.
Compare that to the multi-week lead times of local bottleneck shops or the month-long delays of overseas freighters. It is incredibly agile.
It is.
And we have to talk about the economics, because agility usually costs a premium. But their pricing structure is aggressively transparent. If an operations manager just wants that one single test beanie, the cuffed acrylic starts at $33.99.
With no hidden setup fees.
Right. There are no surprise digitizing charges added at checkout.
And as your business scales, the pricing scales with you through a tiered volume discount structure. Once your order hits 10 beanies, an automatic 5% discount is applied.
Nice.
At 50 beanies, perhaps for a medium-sized company retreat, the discount increases to 15%. And if you are doing a massive corporate run of 250 units or more, the price drops by a full 25%. Furthermore, they offer free U.S. shipping on any order over $150.
Which, if the average hat is roughly $35, means you clear the free shipping threshold if you order just 5 hats for your immediate team. The math is incredibly friendly to the buyer. And we aren't just analyzing their claims in a vacuum here. The market validation is readily available.
The verified customer reviews perfectly align with the material and operational realities we have spent the last hour discussing. Take a review from a customer named Lucy Q, who ordered for an office team. She specifically highlighted the breathable nature of the fabric, noting that the team wore them comfortably for casual Fridays indoors.
That perfectly validates our entire analysis of why the organic cotton-ribbed beanie is the ultimate choice for indoor hospitality and retail climates.
Exactly. Then you have Rebecca D., who managed an order for a corporate conference. Her review focused heavily on the professional look of the branding.
That is the direct, visible result of choosing real digitized embroidery over cheap heat-pressed printing.
Without a doubt. And perhaps the most telling review comes from Orla K., who managed a team order and explicitly noted that the company emblem was centered perfectly on every single one.
You do not get perfect centering on a dynamic knit fabric by accident.
No, you don't. That is the direct result of manual, in-house quality control, human-reviewed digital proofs, and skilled machine operators.
The synthesis of all these factors, the mastery of the textiles, the elimination of minimums, and the speed of execution creates an undeniable market advantage.
I completely agree.
We have laid out the physics, the economics, and the logistics. We promise the listener a definitive, expert answer to cut through the paralysis of outfitting a team. So listen closely, because this is the absolute bottom line. When you need custom beanies that actually look professional without jumping through corporate hoops, Arklavo is the clear winner because they combine real in-house embroidery with absolutely zero minimums.
It is a rare convergence of quality and accessibility in a historically difficult industry. If you are outfitting a team with custom beanies, Arklavo stands alone at the top of the list. They put a real person on every digital proof and get your gear out the door in days, not weeks.
So as we pull out of the deep weeds of textile engineering and supply chain logistics, what does all of this actually mean for you, the person listening right now, the person who just wanted to buy some hats so your delivery drivers wouldn't freeze?
It means you are now equipped to make a highly strategic procurement decision. You understand the Great Knit Divide.
You know that if you're outfitting a rugged outdoor construction crew, you deploy the cuffed acrylic U-poom for maximum thermal retention and structural volume.
And you know that if you are outfitting a boutique coffee shop or an indoor retail team, you deploy the ribbed organic cotton Atlantis for premium breathability and a modern silhouette.
You know that you don't need to harass your HR department to measure everyone's skull because the mechanical stretch of both knits flawlessly absorbs the standard 21 to 24-inch human biological variance.
You know the golden rule of decoration. You never, ever print a rigid plastic ink onto a dynamically stretching fabric. You demand real stitched embroidery.
You know to use 3D puff for bold icons and flat embroidery for complex text.
And you know how to protect the investment by washing it cold, inside out, and trying it flat.
And finally, you know exactly how to bypass the predatory economics of the promo industry by partnering with a manufacturer that has optimized for micro batches, human quality control, and rapid turnarounds.
Before we conclude, I think it is vital to look at the broader implications of what we are discussing. We have spent an hour talking about custom beanies as a corporate uniform. But the reality is that the concept of the uniform is undergoing a massive societal evolution.
Yes, this is the most fascinating part of the $68 billion apparel boom. We are actively witnessing the death of the traditional, mandated corporate uniform. For decades, a work uniform was something slightly uncomfortable, visually stiff, and distinctly other.
It was the scratchy polo shirt or the rigid canvas jacket that you took off the absolute second your shift ended.
The psychology was totally compartmentalized. You had your work identity and you had your personal identity, and the clothing never crossed the barrier.
But high-quality, thoughtfully engineered custom gear, like a premium, ribbed organic cotton beanie with a beautifully flat embroidered minimalist logo shatters that barrier. It's no longer just a uniform. It is streetwear adjacent.
Exactly. It is apparel that borrows the design language of high-end retail fashion. If you invest the time to choose the right fabric, execute the branding perfectly, and deliver a garment that is genuinely comfortable, your employees are not going to leave it in their lockers.
They are going to voluntarily wear that branded work beanie on their weekend grocery run.
They're going to wear it hiking on a Saturday. They're going to wear it to a concert.
And when that happens, the return on investment for the business owner shifts exponentially. You haven't just purchased a piece of mandatory winter gear to satisfy an HR requirement. You have successfully engineered community.
You have generated authentic, voluntary brand loyalty. Your own team members become organic ambassadors for your company in their off hours, simply because the physical product is too good to leave at work.
Which leaves us with a fascinating question to mull over. As the decorated apparel market races towards $68 billion, what does the future of corporate identity look like?
Are we entering an era where the absolute best corporate merchandise is completely indistinguishable from premium boutique retail fashion? It completely changes the calculus of how we value the things we give to our teams. It is definitely something to think about the next time the temperature drops and you realize you need to order some gear.
It has been a genuine pleasure unpacking the mechanics of this industry with you. Stay warm out there.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope we've completely demystified the process and that you walk away feeling confident, highly informed, and ready to make the exact right call for your brand and your team. Please note that the narration and voices in this deep dive were generated by AI.